everybody, I'm Dewan, and welcome to Faithfully Living, where we learn how to study the Bible together. So in this video, I'm going to go over the inductive method a little bit more in detail. In this video, we are going to focus on observation. So observation is the foundation that you need in order to interpret and to apply the Bible. So with observation, we're going to be looking at what do you see, and then what does the text say. So the first thing you want to do is to pray. Pray that God gives you understanding as you dive into His Word. Next, we're going to do two things. We're going to be reading and then analyzing. So first, you want to pick a translation that is easy for you to read and to understand. So when we get to the reading part, you're going to read the text. You're not going to read it just once. You're going to read it multiple times. And what you want to do is, you have your standard translation that you're going to use, but I also suggest you read it in different translations. So you have if you're using the NLT, which is a translation that I like to use, a New Living Translation. Sometimes I read it in the New King James Version. Sometimes I read the NIV, or you can look at what other versions are there. The ESV, New English Standard. So you can get the wording of how the text is played out. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the text, Genesis 1:1-2. So back to the order of how you're going to do things. You're going to read the text over and over again to get familiar with the text before you take a deep dive into it. Next, we're going to analyze the text. So there's two things you're going to do with analyze. First, you're going to analyze about the text, and then you're going to analyze the text itself. So with the first part, where you're going to analyze about the text, you are going to look up either in a handbook or a Bible dictionary online what that particular book that you're reading about. So in our case, it's going to be in Genesis that we're going to read about an overview. So what you're going to be looking at is, we're going to look at who wrote the book, who was it written to, the audience. We're going to look at the time frame when it was written, and then we are going to look at what type of literature is it. Is it poetic literature? Is it narrative? Is it historical literature? So what we're going to do, we're going to go and I'm going to give you an in-depth, closer look at how to do this. Okay, I am at Bible Gateway. So if you don't have a study Bible or a Bible dictionary or a Bible handbook, you can go to websites such as Bible Gateway, Blue Letter Bible to get an overview about the text that you're studying. So we're in Genesis 1 with the Bible Gateway. Typed in the passage of scripture that I'm studying, did the translation that I'm studying from, and then I clicked intro. So we're on the about the text, an overview of the text as a whole, so an overview of Genesis. So the questions, like we said, we're asking who wrote the text. We're talking about the author, whom was the text written to, the audience, when was it written, the time in history, and then what type of literature is the text. Is it poetic, historical, or narrative? So here we have, it tells us that Genesis is from the grouping in the Bible, the Torah or Pentateuch, which is the law. It's historical. The author, Moses. The timeline that Genesis covers is from creation to about 18 BC. The genre, which is a narrative. And then you have the original language. The book of Genesis was written is Hebrew. And then the audience Genesis is written to is the Israelites. So that kind of gives you an overview of about the book of Genesis to answer the who, whom, when, and what. Also, you can go to the Blue Letter Bible. If you click on study, and go to Introductions to the Bible, you can get a little bit more in-depth knowledge about the book of Genesis. So we're going to go here first, notes for Genesis. So this tells us the writer, the name of Genesis, where it was taken from. It gives us an outline of the book of Genesis to give us as a whole the purpose, and then some additional comments about the book. Alright, so that is this part here for that introduction. So we're going to go to another one, Introductions to Genesis. So this goes a little bit more detailed. So we have the title. Again, it's going to tell us where the name Genesis came from, give us some information about the author and the date. This is going to give us some background and setting of Genesis, then some historical and theological themes, kind of outlines the book for us. Interpretive challenges gives us an in-depth outline of the whole book. So that's how you can get an overview of the book of Genesis using these resources. You saw how that you can use different tools to find out about the text that we're reading about. So our text is Genesis 1:1-2. Next, the part we're analyzing is inside the text. So we're going to be looking at the 5 who's: who, what, where, when, how, why. And we're going to look at the text more in detail. So I'm going to give you an up-close look at that. Okay, so we're going to get into the next part of analyzing the text. In the text, we're going to be looking at the text more closely. So you can print out, copy and paste and print out the text so you have a hard copy of it. I have it on my note one here so you can see what I'm doing on the computer here as we observe the text a little bit more. So we're going to be looking at our 5 who questions here. So first we're going to read the text first. So we're in Genesis 1:1-2. It says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, and darkness covered the deep waters, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the water." So we got our first who question. So that would be, who are the people in the text? That's our first question. So as we go look, who they specifically talking about, we got God here, and then we got the Spirit of God. And then under the who question, we got what is said about them. So it tells us that in the beginning, that God created the heavens and the earth. And then about the Spirit of God, it tells us the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. And our next question would be, what do the people have to say? So in this text, God and the Spirit of God do not say anything, so we can't answer that question. Next question would be, what is taking place? So if we look at the text again, we see that God created the heavens and He created the earth. And so what is the idea behind this message? So it's telling us specifically who created the heavens and the earth, which was God. And then next we have where. This is, where is this taking place? So at some stories, they would have a particular place, like it was happening in Judea or Galilee. So there's no specific place mentioned in Genesis 1:1-2. It tells us in the beginning. That's a point in time in which the eternal God decided to create the heavens and the earth. So you could say we could partially answer that question as to where is this taking place. So next is when. What time is it? Is it morning, noon, or night? This is kind of like the where question, when, but it does tell us when. It says in the beginning. That's when God created the heavens and earth, in the beginning. So that's the when question. And then our last W question is why. It says, what is it? No, it says, why is this included, or why would God choose to include this in His Word? So this gives us a little bit of observation of why did God include these verses in the first part of Genesis. So you could piggyback off of it, what's happening in this text. So what's happening is, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So we can formulate some kind of answer to the why question as to, it tells us who created the heavens and the earth. So it tells us who, and then it also tells us what God created in the beginning. Alright, so now if you saw the in-depth close look at how we look at the text and we answer those 5 who questions. One thing I forgot to mention is I would suggest that you print out a copy of the text. I have it here, Genesis 1:1, and you make it double spaced so you can write your notes on it, so you can see it a little bit better. If you, just in case if you don't have a Bible where it's enough room to write on it, this is a good thing to. You can go on one of the websites like Bible Study Tools or Bible Gateway, and they have where you can copy and paste. You can copy and paste to a Word document and make the pages a little bit wider so you can take your notes in it. So that's a good helpful hint that you can use as you're studying the Bible. So now that we looked at the text, looking at our 5 W questions, next we're going to look at the specific words within the text. So we're going to be looking at things like meaning of words, if there's any repetition of words, contrasting words. So I'm going to show you that now in our verse that we're looking at in Genesis 1:1. Okay, so now in this part we are going to look more in depth into the text. We're going to be looking at the words within the text to see what they mean, see if there's any repetition, any comparing and contrasting, check out any keywords, and then we're going to look at grammar, verbs, nouns, adjectives, etc. And then we're going to have word meanings. Some meanings in the Bible some words in the Bible you might often see, like therefore or however or nevertheless. These words do mean something when it comes into the context and trying to figure out what that verse is saying. So therefore means in conclusion, because it's an explanation of, so that, or in order that, gives a purpose or a result. Contrast, you have however, nevertheless, and the expressions of time. So after, afterwards, then. So we have our text here. So we're going to do, the first thing is meaning. So what you're going to do, I tend to look up words even if I do know what the meaning is. I tend to look up it in a concordance to see what that word meaning is in the Greek. So if you don't have a hard copy of a concordance, you can go to Bible Gateway. They have a concordance, Bible Hub, Blue Letter Bible, and Bible Study Tools. They all have concordance where you can look up the words in a particular text that you're looking at. So you could look up beginning, created. You can look up heavens, earth. We can see what formless means. And then darkness. And then hovering. So all these words you can look up, even though you might probably know what they mean, but you want to know what they mean in the Hebrew. In this instance, Hebrew, because Genesis was written in Hebrew, or the Greek for the New Testament, to see what the meaning of a word is in the Bible. So next, we're going to look for repetition. So we're going to look for any words that have repetition. So the only word that is repeated here is the word earth, which is right here. So this is the only word that's repeated. Oh, also you have waters. It's a word that's repeated. And as you're looking for repeated words, some texts are going to have repeated words that are a little bit more, you would say, more significant, wondering why these words are repeated all the time. So you have repeated words, any contrasting words. In the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. The earth was formless and void, and darkness covered the deep waters, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the water. So there's no contrasting words. So next we would want to look for any keywords. So keywords, you think that would be important. So I think a keyword would be created. Another keyword would be probably beginning. Keyword would be God, and then Spirit of God. And also, as you're looking out for summaries, maybe in a Bible handbook, they often have keywords that you should be looking for too. But see if you can pick out what the keywords are yourself as you're reading through the text. So next, we are going to look at grammar. So we're going to look for verbs here. So we are going to be looking for verbs here. So you know, verbs, it's going to be describing action. So we got created, it's a verb. Was is a verb, and then so on and so forth. So then you have nouns. So nouns, you know, people, places, or things. So you got God, be a noun. And we got earth, be a noun, and so forth. So we got who was creating. The creator is God. And then how was the earth? What was the status of the earth? So you can see the status of the earth was formless. It was empty. And it could be dark too. Once God created the heaven and the earth. Darkness. And it consisted of deep waters. So it tells you about what the earth, it describes the earth after God had created it. And then next you have adjectives, describe. So we talk about formless, empty, to describe the earth. One thing also you take note of is, if you look at heavens is plural, and then earth, you see it's singular. So that means God created multiple heavens, and then he only created one earth. So that's what you can see from observing the text. And there are no more words that are plural. And then also you can check to see if you have any of these transitional contrasting words in. And I don't think we have any of these contrasting words in this text. So that's how you kind of break down a text to try to understand what's going on and how you can better, understand the first part of observation. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful for you in getting some examples on how to look at a text, or observing the text, how you can read the text, how you can analyze the text, kind of looking at the overall view of what that book of the Bible is talking about, and then looking down at sectioning off the chapter that you're reading and looking at that verse in depthly, looking at what's going on in that text, who's speaking, what's taking place, and then looking at the words of the text. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Please share it with your friends and family, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!